I hate to have to come on the internet and defend Cenat in 2016. And before we get into this is not to say that this is in defense of any of his previous actions. Now with that said, hey guys, what's up? It's Imurgency and welcome back to my channel. We've done some reflecting on rebranding in the new year, and now it's time to talk about people who are actually brands in the new year, I guess. And the main person we're bringing up in this conversation is Cenat, who's been coming under fire, or at least coming under scrutiny recently for his recent brand switch up from celebrity streamer and crazy internet personality to now a thinker, a mogul, and get this, a reader. And we'll get more into this, but the main reason I wanted to spend a whole video talking about this whole thing was because I thought that the whole response to this brand pivot and the lack of grace given to him specifically is interesting to note when compared to his peers and predecessors, who quite honestly have done much worse and have gotten away with it for much less. So when it comes to things like influencer rebrands and honestly influencer career revivals, let's take a little look into who really has the right to change and why.
The big difference between a warrior and a victim is that the victim represses and the warrior refrains.
We found a dead body.
Unidentified aerial phenomena in the sky. We don't know what they are.
It's very possible.
Someone has been alleging for years now that you, one of the largest commentary creators on YouTube, knowingly committed a crime against her when she was a minor.
It's news to me. News to me, apparently, which is like annoying because they're already paid for. I guess it's like against the HOA rule.
All right, I know there's like an audience and content creator overlap at times, but let me just let you in on some creator trade secrets. Okay, so POV. Do you ever find yourself scrolling on the For You page and find a funny TikTok and go like, oh my God, this is so funny. Let me go see this creator's other content, only to find the same video or at least like type of video done over and over and over again on their page? Or maybe you wonder why your favorite YouTuber seems to have the same thumbnail over and over and over again, or just doesn't branch out as much outside of their niche? Well, my friends, if you weren't already aware, that's because platforms reward monotony, or at least how they say it, content consistency. If you make a video that utterly bangs and brings in your highest viewership, you've now got yourself a new target demographic and a brand new content vertical that they will be expecting from you. And is this necessarily true all the time for all creators? No. There are of course exceptions to this rule, but if you are trying to build an audience, in many cases, it does kind of go back to the old adage of if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and to just generally stay in your lane. And yes, this is strategy. I mean, believe it or not, this content stuff is a job for many people after all. And that's why you may see people stick to a certain niche, especially if this is their main source of income. This is also why you always hear from creators that content pivots are some of the hardest things for creators to do, especially before you get to a certain point. Like for example, in my case, I used to be a show review channel over 2 years ago, and there is still a good chunk of y'all, or at least people on the internet, that beg for that kind of content over the commentary that I do now, just because that is the brand and that is the vertical that I initially came up with. And if you are one of those people that craves that kind of content, go subscribe to my second channel and ask nicely, and we might do some show reviews over there. But I bring all that up to say that I think that after you reach a certain point of success, especially on social media, you can make that flip to switch up your content, because not only is that safety net there, the audience loyalty is there as well. However, these pivots are not always without criticism and repercussion, especially in the public court of internet discourse. With the internet being as punitive of a system as there is, who has the right to change and reinvent their content? Enter Cenat and his arguably performative rebrand. Now, what initiated this whole thought process was the internet discourse taking place at the moment, which I do have to say is usually on the other side of the internet from me. And that has to do with Cenat and his rebrand to reading more, learning how to sew and start a fashion line, and just generally working out. And hearing these things for the first time on social media, I truly did not give a F. I'm sorry, I hate to say it, I don't mean to sound ridiculous, but I do not know who this man is really, beyond some sometimes problematic clips that I see from him and his guests online. But still, shout out to him. I mean, until I saw a world of discourse behind a change that's seemingly innocuous, as far as I can tell. Like reading more, learning how to sew, and working out were on thousands of people's New Year's resolutions this year. So truly, why do we care? Actually, wait, I'll tell you. So for those of you who are not into the streamer and Twitch world of it all, and trust me, neither am I really, you have likely heard of Cenat, as he is one of the biggest streamers on the platform. He's known for his mixed bag content of gaming, reactions, day-to-day IRL or vlog-esque streams, as well as being the host behind some of the largest streaming events over the past couple of years, like Streamer University, as well as his 24-hour 30-day stream series called Mafiathon. He's also known for his many celebrity guests, ranging from Kim Kardashian to Mariah Carey to less savory characters like Miss Maga Minaj. And I will say she was on his stream pre full Magification, as well as people like Chris Brown. And also, side note here, how does everyone everyone continuously forget that he consistently beats people. Like, it's not just women that he beats. Like, that's bad enough. He's beating everybody. Like, check his track record up until very recently. It's bad. But getting back to Kai, he's recently announced that he's quitting streaming or being online, which is clickbait, of course, because in reality, he's just switching up the kind of content that he's making, focusing now on timed reading out loud, learning how to sew for his fashion line, and again, working out, which to my surprise has caused quite the stir online. And I think if the biggest offense here, at least according to the online discourse here, is the perceived corniness and that all this is performative, I'll take it. Like, we have much bigger and much more felonious and hateful fish to fry, you guys. Like, come on. Like, what happened to the to be cringe is to be free people? Like, where are y'all at now? On the other hand, though, I think there is so much backlash or at least judgment coming from people about this, because the person that Cenat is becoming and the way in which he is choosing to become that person is not the person that the audience that he cultivated knows him to be, and who his original content appealed to. According to stream charts, of course, as of recording this video, as of the last 30 days, his audience is primarily males ranging from the ages of 20 to 24 years old, which no shade is honestly higher than I thought that it was going to be. I thought that it would personally range from around 16 to 18 to 24, but shout out young adults. But when we're talking about this audience demographic specifically, we do have to take into account the modern landscape of streaming and how he and other streamers like him have built up their audiences. And I don't mean to make a generalization, because I know this is not everybody, but the loudest people in these audiences don't seem to be the most open-minded community or those the most accepting of change, with audiences often engaging in similar sexist, racist, and oftentimes homophobic rhetoric as their streamers and guests they watch do. So like, at the end of the day, we can't be shocked when the audience that you cultivated that isn't the most open-minded to a lot of things aren't the most open-minded to you and your changes as well. Like, truly, who set that system up? These are the golden handcuffs, my friends. But getting more into the Kai controversy itself, his fans and his haters are teaming up because they both think that this is an inauthentic move.
Because nobody had an issue with his rebrand when he came out and said, yo guys, I can't stream anymore. It's taking a toll on my mental. I don't know how to outdo myself. I had LeBron on stream. I streamed for 30 days straight. People understood that. That's a lot to handle, and people gave him grace for that. But then when he came and said, but I want to be a fashion director, fashion designer, when I want to be a fashion designer, that's when people started to get a little cautious, because of the fact that when you're rebranding, it either has to be slow and compound on itself, or it has to be something that's a natural transition. You know, he's a creator that makes comedy videos. Get into stand-up comedy. You stream a lot, you're on video, start acting. Those are things that would have made sense to the average viewer and no one would have questioned.
With some fans also calling out this switch up as being inauthentic, performative, and not what they signed up for, and very much unlike Kai, which, like, okay, he is a literal performer, being that he is live on Twitch all the time. Like, I don't know, again, this is no shade or disrespect, but like, the concept of expecting authenticity from a streamer is kind of crazy work. I'm sorry. Like, I just think that it's kind of foolish in our year of 2026 to expect authenticity from streamers and influencers at this point. Like, I'm sorry, but that is literally the whole job. Like, the whole job is to perform, and I'm sorry if that breaks the immersion. I'm sorry, but the concept of being an influencer and the concept of being a content creator is to inherently be inauthentic. No matter what the creator says, no matter how authentic the creator portrays themselves to be and how authentic they may be in real life, the nature of recording content and posting it online for people to engage with so that you can profit off of it is inherently inauthentic, because it is no longer just about the craft. It is no longer just about the connection. It is a job, and it can and oftentimes is a job that you can enjoy and enjoy the community that you foster and build connections with and interact with on a daily basis. But the foundation behind that is that it is a job. And especially when you get to that level, when you are making millions off of your content and you have millions and millions and millions of supporters, that 100% becomes a performance. Like, there is no way to authentically show up for millions of people as an individual. Like, we were not designed to do that. Like, expecting someone to be authentically themselves at 100% all the time is just unrealistic. I'm sorry. So on the spectrum of all things evil, it could be so much worse.
Just when I thought Kai Cenat couldn't get any more performative, he decides to drop this absolute banger. In this video, he's working on his new brand Vivette, basically some type of fashion brand. And you know, he's staying up late, writing down ideas, working hard. And at one point, he pulls out these Instax photos and tapes them to the paper. Like, is this a vision board or what? But that's not even really that bad. Have you noticed the quality of this video? That's because he used a 3DS to record the video. As you can see his comment right here, recording off my 3DS. We are reaching new levels of performative we have never seen before. This guy grabbed his 3DS and he might have even bought a 3DS just for this.
Like, y'all would truly have me strung up in Times Square if this is what we're going after.
Kai Cenat is doing this thing where he's reading on stream to improve his literacy, and like, first off, props, you know, anything to encourage literacy is great, but I feel like he when you watch that video, you will see that there's two things that are a really integral part of like reading that Cenat and a lot of people don't have. Because reading is not just being able to see a word and then say it. Part of reading is one, like reading and comprehending. Like, it is entirely possible to read a page aloud and then come away and not have any idea what it said. And when Cenat reads, you can tell that he's tracking the words with his eyes, but is he following the ideas with his mind? I don't think so.
And while I think that there is some validity to the worry that he might be perpetuating a harmful stereotype about Black men, which again, I would agree would be crazy if he's pretending to be reading like that. And if that's the case, that's a whole separate video. But taking that in good faith, what if that's not the goal? And he's genuinely, truly trying to get better? What's the harm in that then? I think oftentimes we forget that we really do have a literacy crisis in this country in general. And I know that he went to college for a little bit before he dropped out to do content full time, but the literacy crisis unfortunately does impact us all. And also, again, I don't watch his content regularly, but many people that do have said that they notice in old streams, he does tend to read that way. So really the fake reading allegations are all speculation at this point. Now, with that said, when we're talking about who gets to rebrand and who gets to change, I would be remiss if I did not mention some of his offenses in general. Because as I've mentioned, with a massive following and viewership comes a equally, if not more, massive responsibility. And unfortunately with that, he has platformed some rather terrible people such as Chris Brown and Kodak Black, who are both well-known abusers, as well as multiple incidents of homophobic and misogynistic rhetoric being used during streams. And these are obviously not great traits to have when having an influential platform. But what gets me about this, and this is how I know that I'm on a different side of the internet, is that no one is really going after this. Like, the core audience of Cenat stans do not care. They do not care about that stuff. That is fine. But where the line is being drawn, the real problem here, the thing that makes people question their support of Cenat, is him suddenly trying to read out loud and not being a good reader. And I also did want to address very briefly, because this is not substantiated and could very well be misinformation. And having that with a big disclaimer and allegedly is all around this. I was seeing comments online saying that he was allegedly endorsed by AIPAC, which gagged me, and not in the good way. But in doing further research, neither my researcher nor I found any substantiating evidence on this, other than the tweet of origin that comes from the account with the bio professional rage baiter. So I'm personally not super inclined to believe that. So unless you got a primary or secondary source on this, I don't think that's true, because Elon Musk's Twitter is definitely not a reliable source in the slightest. And this very well may be one of the many cases of misinformation on that platform. Now, with that said, let's bring this conversation into the broader, talking more broadly about the general question of who has the right to rebrand, who has the right to change their career around, and why does this matter? Because the times haven't suddenly changed, and I'm not suddenly a streamer gossip channel, okay? Things have nuance, and there's a reason why I'm talking about this. Because this whole little discourse got me thinking. It got this little noggin running. Okay. And it made me think about how in the whole sphere of influencer and content creation, who really is allowed to change? And what I mean by that is who gets to change and rebrand, especially after controversy or just a general fall from the public's graces. Because unfortunately, and by unfortunate, I mean very fortunately, we don't have Shane Dawson going around anymore giving PR documentaries for canceled influencers. And it just really got me thinking of like other instances in which content creators or influencers have been put on trial in the court of public internet opinion. And honestly, I did not like what I found, with the most prominent instances including sorry, let me get in character for a second. Hi everyone, hello. And now I present to you best rebrand of the internet. Logan Paul, Japanese suicide forest vlogger to doo-doo apology video to podcaster that interviews the president. Cody Ko, engaging with minors. And now going back to making content like nothing happened at an arguably higher rate? All right. Anyways, next nominee, PewDiePie. History of being a literal schnazi online and saying the N-word. Now a sweet, relatable family man. James Charles, engaging with minors. And also now making content like everything is normal and still has an audience. Well, let's give it up for our nominees, people. They are certainly here and seen. You can definitely see that these influencers either reinvented themselves or had major comebacks after some egregious acts at best and literal criminal activity at worst. And again, they were still able to rebrand and still have an audience to this day. But now someone who wants to rebrand in an arguably positive direction, even if it is performative or seemingly a cash grab, is being yelled at and being held accountable, but not for any of the stuff that actually needs to be held accountable for. Like, if the crime is being performative, then perform, god. okay? Do whatever you gotta do, but it's making these kids pick up a book, okay? The average American is reading at a 5th grade level. Like, someone needs to do something. And I just wanna say that these content creator comparisons are not comparable at all in terms of action. Like, I'm not saying that Kai Cenat is at the same level at all as like the James Charleses, the Cody Ko's, the PewDiePies of it all. But this is more so to speak to the conversation of like, look who's able to come back from a significant change, specifically a negative change, and still be here making content and making money. And like, not to racialize this, but like, let's racialize it for a second. The white creators just mentioned committed some serious offenses. And again, not saying what Kai has done in the past isn't harmful, but some of these other people committed literal crimes and were still able to come back to God's internet and continue their careers, okay? They just had to shift the content around a bit. Like, evil white men can literally do anything and still be successful thereafter. But God forbid a black content creator or just a general content creator of color switches it up or just tries to better themselves in the name of self-improvement. And then all of a sudden it's corny, it's inauthentic, it's a cash grab and you should get off the internet. Like, Kai changing his content is nowhere near the level of this discourse. But the fact that there is almost a double standard of what gets persecuted on the internet is telling. And that brings me to the whole concept of shaming and clowning a black man for reading. Like, honestly, to me, that is crazy. Like, y'all are seeing this, right? I feel like reading has become more of a conversation on the internet for a while now, with many people saying that they used to read and want to get back into it to help train or better their attention span. So if that's the case, why then are we judging someone who already streams in their daily life, streaming themselves reading? Like, this is really such a non-issue for real. And like, I get it, that might not be what the initial audience was there for, because the content that the initial audience signed up for was a bunch of explosions, a bunch of screaming. It honestly overstimulation nation. But the fact that he's trying to drastically change his life like this should not bring the state of his mental health or the state of his brand in question. Because let's get into the grift allegations. Because I think we forget what words mean after so long of just regurgitating them. A grift is quite literally to engage in petty or small scale swindling. Like, for example, when all these podcasters started supporting Trump for a check and realized that that wasn't the way to go when his policies actually then impacted their bottom dollar. And I guess in Kai's situation, the only murky thing here is that maybe he's using his platform to get people to buy his brand. And even then, everyone with a platform does that. Like, I think I'm just not seeing the net negative here. Like, trust and believe, I am a skeptic most of the time. And sure, there definitely is still a mystery afoot, and only time will tell if this is truly a grift or not. But to me, Kai posting videos of him learning how to sew and get into fashion is literally fine. Like, yes, okay, learn a new skill. And before you say it, I know that the argument is that he can get into fashion and learn to sew without commercializing it and commodifying it, literally right off the jump into a fashion line, which is a valid critique, but also this man has quite literally commodified every other aspect of his life, just like any other influencer and streamer. Like, to me at least, this just seems like a natural step. And not just that, this behavior isn't new for creators. Like, there are many influencers in the millions tier around his size that have gone off to other industries. Like, if you really want to clock it, these rich white influencers be doing literally any and everything. Like, love her down, but did you ever see Miss Emma Chamberlain reporting live from the coffee field or like the roastery? Did y'all see David Dobrik have some kind of culinary experience that I didn't know about that made him the perfect person to open a pizzeria? And then there's other honorable mentions like Mr. Beast's Feastables and the Paul Brothers and KSI's Lunchly snack packs that had mold in them. And Cody Ko's oatmeal brand after the statutory allegations. Like, not saying that it's bad to start a brand out of nowhere, but it can be argued that all of these are cash grabs and they all had less transparency than what Kai is trying to put out there for a product that is not even out yet. However, it still has people concerned about it being a potential grift. Like, it just really gives YouTuber with a book deal and like maybe a ghostwriter of the 2010s, but just maybe a more lucrative version for the times. Like, do we not feel like this is just par of the course? Like, I don't know. How you feel about Kai Cenat doing this is up to you, and time will tell his intentions, but we really can't act brand new about how when people get money to do what they want, they then go and do that. All in all, I think like, yeah, Kai Cenat isn't getting a Nobel Peace Prize anytime soon. And it can be argued that his content and audience cultivation can be actually harmful for certain audiences to consume. But I think this change and this pivot kicked up a lot more negative feedback than it maybe should have. And also, don't lie to me. This is not what holding people accountable looks like. Like, if it was, people would have been holding the pitchforks way before this, okay? Like, this is literally just about him switching it up, temporarily leaving the shenanigans and at worst pursuing other shenanigans, and at best, elevating himself and his brand. And at the end of the day, we gotta be real. The fans don't really care about accountability in his case. So what's truly the issue here? Like, I would understand if the conversation was about like the past acts of misogynistic rhetoric or platforming abuse not being cool and taking accountability in that sense, but like, his fans literally don't care about that and haven't cared about that. So what's really tea? Like, truly none of this discourse really matters. Like, this is some deeply online shit for for real. And truly the biggest non-issue in the grand scheme, but I think looking at how we react to different people enacting essentially similar rebranding or reinvention ways on the internet is interesting to talk about, because the gatekeeping of reinvention and evolution online seems to be falling on more racialized lines than we initially thought. Because yes, two things can be true and exist at once, but if you're cool with literal racists and criminals and don't want to have the real conversations about the real issues with streamers, please don't get in my face about no Cenat.